So this is a little different to the formula of these videos, where normally I talk about albums I've listened to a fair bit. This time I'm going to talk about an album that I haven't actually listened to yet, but I have listened to one song of. But the album that is on screen right now isn't that album. This is Twin Fantasy by the band Car Seat Headrest. And the reason I'm talking about this is because we are going to be talking about a Car Seat Headrest album, but I wanted to give a little bit of context for my, I guess, enjoyment of this band. So, how I actually found out about this band was because we had this thing going on in freshman year, like first semester, where it was a getting to know you type of thing with the freshman students. And what you had to do was you just had to put together a brief presentation about anything of your choosing. So I don't remember what I did, but you could have done a presentation on. Actually, I think someone did a presentation on like the drug crisis or something, like the opioid crisis across the country. Yeah, like you could go from something as serious as that to something as, say, goofy as, hey, here are my synthesizers. Here's how that works. But someone did a presentation where they talked about Twin Fantasy. Now, when I listened to this, because I was intrigued after they did this presentation, truth be told, it was like the one presentation from that whole group where I thought, you know what, I am actually kind of interested in what this album is. I checked it out and just typed it in on YouTube and listened to it. And there's a reason I am showing you the mirror-to-mirror version, because this was the version that I listened to and thought, holy shit, this sounds rough. And I listened to it one time and kind of just put it back on the shelf, like, all right, I've listened to this, we'll move on. And I'd probably listen to like some Tool after that or something. Well, eventually, the album actually kept kind of coming back into my mind a little bit for different reasons, and eventually, because I was really curious what this was, like, why was there this really terrible sounding album, and then all of these other albums after that, and wait a minute, why is there a second version of it? So this alone is what intrigued me to actually listen to the album again. Because otherwise, I was never going to listen to Twin Fantasy again. I was only going to listen to the original one. But eventually, because I decided, all right, well, I'll eventually listen to this. Well, eventually happened, and I've probably listened to this album like 10 or 20 times. A good amount of times, honestly, for the amount of different music that I've listened to. And, yeah, no, there was some good songs in here. So, with that said, we're actually going to be taking a step back to look at the album that came before this one, but well after this one, Teens of Denial. Now, the reason why is because this is another story, but again, tiny bit of context. I decided earlier today I was just going to lay down, listen to some music, and I actually put on Famous Prophets, because it was a long enough song. I thought, hey, 16 minutes, that should be enough to kind of just relax. And I ended up falling asleep and woke up probably 40 minutes later with a Spotify shuffle to this song right here. And I immediately kind of recognized the who it was because of the singer. Okay? But the sound of it was a bit different to what I had kind of just associated as Car Seat Headrest, because again, I had not listened to any of these other albums here, just Twin Fantasy and the original one. So that's what the video that you are about to listen to is. And yeah, what will probably happen is I'm going to edit in my thoughts later on over this. I'm going to just go ahead and listen to this, give my thoughts now, and then maybe whenever I get around to actually editing this video, I'll like correct it back and say, yeah, I still think this, or no, actually this song grew on me. That's what we're going to do. So let's start with Fill in the Blank. This is giving me like Helter Skelter vibes for some reason. Like, in my head, I'm like, when I get to the bottom, I get back up to the top of the slide. And it's also reminding me of Bodies a bit. I guess I should put something up on screen so there's actually like a thing here.
Will
Okay, I actually want to pause this because this really is reminding me a lot of Bodies, specifically with even these lyrics right here because of the delivery of it. I don't know the best way of describing it because it like breaks rhythm where, like I almost would call it. Best way I can describe it is it's a like hybrid between just spoken word and actually singing. And this is something that I do actually remember being a very specific part of Bodies. I just can't remember the exact lyric that I'm thinking of. I want to say that he also does it on Famous Prophets, but I could be wrong on that. But I'm getting the sense of okay, so this is definitely the style of car seat headrest now. This is we have the Control, which is Teen Fantasy, and then we have this, which is the actual test group. Okay, this seems like a pretty good start to the album. It gives me hope that I won't just be wasting about 17 minutes listening to this. But one thing I want to also add in is this sound. While it definitely isn't really original, because I mean you can just go back to early 2000s, 90s, all that really with like alt rock. It still is done in a way that does actually feel pretty fresh. I'll give them that. Um, where it doesn't seem like we're just like lifting a past influence and copying it wholesale. Now, granted, I will say this right now, I'm also not as familiar with this like realm of indie music. So there very well could be a better inspiration that I just am not aware of than just thinking of really like indie band from the 90s. Yeah, so far this is pretty promising for the album, and I will also add in that this is a probably better opener than the one for Twin Fantasy. And I'm not talking about fuck, what was the name of it? And for clarity, I'm not talking about Beach Life because to me that feels like the actual opener for Twin Fantasy. I'm talking about My Boy, where the fact that we immediately get into the action of this album does appeal to me a bit more. Though I will also give credit to Twin Fantasy, where to my understanding that is kind of more of a concept album, at least from what I'm aware of. Though that isn't entirely how I've like really enjoyed that album. I've really enjoyed it more for the instrumentation, the sound of everything, all that. Because the second version of it is a pretty well produced album. Okay, Vincent, second one. This is 8 minutes long. Okay. Maybe this is supposed to be the beach life of the album. Hammer-ons and pull-offs. Okay. This better have an awesome payoff, though. I will add that I'm already getting the vibe from this album that this would be awesome to see live. This would be such a fun concert. Alright, man, we're getting on 2 minutes. Alright, here we go. Obviously, I'm not, like, I don't have a face cam, but I will say I am, like, moving my head to this already. I am anticipating something from this. Ooh, I'm liking that bass. It's kind of quiet in the mix, but if you pay attention to it, that bass is good. I'm turning this up. Wait, do they actually? Hold up. Oh, wow. They actually do. Sorrowing old man at eternity's gate. Fuck, man, that is quite the heavy fucking title, man. Based on early lithograph, painting was completed in early May at the time when he was convalescing from a severe relapse in his health. Some 2 months before his death. Holy shit! Wait, is this the last? Was this the last painting by Van Gogh? Yeah. Yeah. This is. Wow. This is definitely a painting. A damn powerful one as well. Give me a moment to get some water. Mm. Yeah, I didn't actually know that Van Gogh committed suicide. Okay, let's. I'm going to roll the song back. And we'll start this again. Oh, that's why the song's called Vincent. Okay. Horns. I was not expecting that. Starting to get into some thank you scientist territory, I guess. Wow, that that is definitely quite the upgrade in composition from the last album. Yeah, that that is honestly like that. I'd have to spend like the next minute praising this song to actually explain how good of a song that is. So one still gives me even more hope for the rest of this project, where now I'm honestly expecting everything following this, because I think we still have 10 songs left. We are still at the very beginning of this album. I'm expecting everything. I'm expecting at least one more song on this album to be as good as that one. Okay, I am hoping that there's not going to be a single lull in this entire project, because that last song is just incredible. The build up in the beginning, because I was I was like teasing on that a little bit at the beginning, like, all right, it's 2 minutes, yeah. No, that is perfect for what was going on in that song and the whole message for it. Fuck, man. Obviously, there was that one moment with Van Gogh as well. It may actually currently be my second favorite car seat headrest song. That's how good it is. That is definitely like a shorter form kind of prog type of song. And why I'm describing it like that is my general like idea for what a prog song typically is, like a prog epic. Is it telling some kind of a story, or it's either through the lyrics or it's through the actual like arrangement and composition of the song? So multiple parts. Also, length can be a matter of that as well. This is probably like I would almost compare this to Roundabout in its scope of how varied it is in the composition, where there is okay. So what I'm saying is that there is a almost verse and chorus to the song, but generally there is so much more going on as well, that you do actually have different sections. You have different parts that can really only be labeled as like a B section, a C section, D section, so on and so forth. Yeah, that's why I meant when I said at the beginning that this was actually like a big surprise to me with the composition of it, because you've had this before with, namely with Beach Life, where that's like a 13-minute song, I think, that has 3 distinct parts to it, each with its own verse and chorus. You also have, of course, Famous Prophets from the same album that is like a lot more is going on there as well, because you have a solo and then you have like a whole spoken word section at the end with a piano ballad, and then one final like release of emotion. Yeah, No, that last song is just that did blow me away. So, editor's note, probably one of many for this video. Yeah, no, Vincent is probably the best Car Seat Headrest song I've heard. And, yeah, it beats out Famous Prophets. Because that used to be my favorite song from Car Seat Headrest. No, it's still good. It is still number 2, but no, Vincent fucking blew me away, man. It really did. Yeah, I'll say this right now. This already feels like a good follow-up to the last song after how heavy that song was. Obviously, I can already tell by the lyrics that it's not that much lighter of a song, but by the instrumentation, yeah, this already feels like a good step back from the last song. Yeah, that was great. That's really all I have to say. That was just a great song to listen to. Not really anything like too impressive in the composition, but it is just a very solid song, very solid performance. Yeah, moving on to the comically long title song, yeah. Or alternatively, the light novel song. I get to know. Yeah, not really feeling this one. But what's funny is, yeah, I'm not really feeling this one. But I know that the last lyrics are probably going to be stuck in my head for the next, like, day or two. So, yeah. Here's to you, future me, who has to edit this and get this earworm stuck in their head again. Oh, don't worry, past me. It has been stuck in my head for the past couple weeks. You may have also noticed that I said nothing about this song, really. It's good, but I don't really have anything to say about it, so moving on. It's the Pixies. Great tape loop effect. Oh, that would have been awesome if it like immediately went to the next track. Damn. Okay, so wow. Okay, hold on. I gotta revisit the last track for a minute because it went all over the place. The ending part, because we just got to that. So the ending part, I actually kind of like. I like how it does devolve into a cacophony of sound. That is just a thing that I'm a sucker for like almost any song. No, so the dialogue here at the end, though, I think is the most interesting thing. Even though I don't know, I think that it's a little too early in the album to just start having spoken word sections like this. But it is interesting to at least see, I guess, the artist's perspective on basically combining work on two simultaneous projects at the same time that end up, I guess, being in the same spirit. Because, yeah, so previous album was called Teens of Style. And that was something that actually confused me in the last song, is because I guess they were referencing this album. Now, obviously, as I said before, I haven't actually listened to this album at all. Oh, it's like half the length as well. So, I'm almost wondering if I'm starting at the last chapter of the book for what could be basically two sister albums, one of which you may want to listen to before. I don't know. But maybe I will check out that album since I am so far enjoying what I'm liking, or what I'm hearing so far from this. It doesn't have to be like this. Kill a whale. Kill a whale. Okay, so the first half kind of lost me. I'm going to say that just right now. Where one thing I was thinking of is... Where was it? I'm trying to find the exact point. There was a point in here where it did start to, where some of the lyrics were starting to feel way too literal and like up front. Whereas I think that there is more interest. Like, to me, I think it's more interesting to have like more like hidden metaphors in lyrics if I am going to try and dissect them and spend the time to do that. And I think that in the, like, one of those specific things I'm thinking of it as well is because I was going to make a joke about this earlier. Is this like a recurring thing for Car Seat Headrest to just have a song on the album that is like a PSA? Because I do remember with Twin Fantasy that there was just a song that was called Don't Smoke, or I can't remember the exact title, but it was like Don't Smoke, We Love You, I think. So I was wondering if this was going to be a similar thing, because admittedly, I'll say right now, that song, I don't remember what the metaphor for that was, but for this one, though, I actually really liked the way that this was describing the drunk driving metaphor, especially this line right here, and it left you feeling empty as a car coasting downhill. I like that. I like that line. But then it started losing me again shortly after that. But then this last section here, it then started to like click in my head a lot better why this metaphor actually does work for the story that's being told. But it is probably a story of don't drink and drive. But then the actions to not do that actually end up really complementing, I think, the main ideas of the album so far. So overall, actually going to like that song, because this is a nice song, though I may not listen to it too much. Definitely a good one though. Okay, next song, 1937 State Park.
I steer clear of graveyards, they are cliche in my death-obsessed generation.
Oh, it's not just millennials, man, it is my generation as well. So I gotta admit, I think that this is going to be a song that I have to have a re-listen of, because I recognize that there is a story going on here. I think I can already see what the story is, but the exact details of it, I'm actually not too sure of. So, again, I'm pretty sure that this is going to need a second listen. Because the images, I'm picturing the whole scene of this song or sequence, but there are like little things that I'm still not being able to quite picture entirely. So yeah, this will likely require an update from me. So take it away, future me. Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts on this song. I've probably listened to it now like 6 times. So. Good song though, but I don't really have much to make of it. Oh, okay, so this is probably going to be the prog epic of the album. That song, I was kind of vibing to it. However, definitely was getting very repetitive by the end. However, I imagine that in a live setting, that song would actually be pretty fun, so... but in the context of this album, I definitely would have cut that song a little bit shorter. Because I think even the lyrics on screen was starting to fuck up for some reason. So, alright, next song, Cosmic Hero. Horns. Da-da! Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, I'm re-recording this because the original version of this had me trying to decipher the, I guess, meaning of the song with the lyrics and saying, oh, I need to listen to it again to decipher it better. Nah, I don't need to, because I just re-listened to it and I just love the last 3 minutes of the song. That is enough for me to like this song. It sounds so good. Oh, okay. Here's the 12-minute song. These horns are actually reminding me of a very specific point on the wall.
How was I supposed to know how to use a tube amp? How How was I supposed to know how to drive a van?
Where the fuck did this come from? It just surprised me right as I was eating an apple. Is this going to be a reprisal of the beginning? Or is it going to be a new part entirely? Ah, new part. Okay. With what I think might either be a Hammond or a Vox. I can't tell. At least it sounds a lot like them. That's a great choice, though, of keyboard for this. Yeah, wow. Vincent is still better, in my opinion, but... why? Yeah, wow. This was a good one. This, again, is going to get a second listen for me. It's definitely going to get a third, fourth, fifth, however many I decide. This actually kind of felt relatable, which is not something I thought that I was going to say going into this. The ending, though, did catch me off guard the last about 5 minutes or so. But honestly, I approve. I approve of taking such a left turn in the song compared to what was happening before that. Because, this is all about composition. This is, with what I was explaining before about a prog type of song in my eyes. Yeah, this is a part that, this is a song that's in multiple parts. This is a song that has different ways of how it arranges its instrumentation and the lyrics. Where there is mostly just verses, but it all builds up slowly, which again, very common in good prog songs. And definitely something I'm a big fan of. One thing it kind of reminded me of is what was that? I'm thinking of the album American Idiot by Green Day, but I'm not thinking of Jesus of Suburbia. I'm thinking of another song that happens later on in the album where it just, like, every 2 minutes they're jumping to a different song, effectively. Okay, I think we have 2 songs left. Yeah, we have a 6-minute song and then we have a 2-minute song. Not even 2 minutes, 1 minute. Yeah, the song was fun to listen to. Not really have a lot of thoughts on it. Yeah, admittedly, to me, this song doesn't really add too much to the album. Kind of feel like that we are going over some very similar ground here to maybe a couple of the other songs. But otherwise, yeah, I'm curious why it's called the Saga of Frank Sinatra, though, because nothing about this really makes me think of Frank Sinatra, so... Okay, well, that concludes Teens of Denial. Now we're on King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Okay, so I have some thoughts on this one. So now that I've been able to listen to this album for the past 2 months, yes, I recorded this 2 months ago. Yes, this was supposed to be a quick turnaround. No, it was definitely not a quick turnaround, so I don't know if I'm ever going to do a video like this again. But... Anyway, I think that this album is better than Twin Fantasy with several caveats. Because I think that this album reaches higher highs than Twin Fantasy. However, I think Twin Fantasy was more consistent than Teens of Denial. Because while there were many high points of Teens of Denial, there were a couple of songs that I just kind of didn't care for, and it even got to a point where it felt like some of the songs were kind of retreading the same ground. Because, in my opinion, I think the album actually should end at the Ballad of the Costa Concordia. Because when this song finished, it was so satisfying after what was, I think, about 16 minutes of music, where we went on this whole journey in this song. Went through different motions, different emotions, and then we have this very satisfying end with the organ and one last verse. I think that that is the perfect point to stop an album. Yet we then have Connect Dots, which I don't really remember much from, and like I don't get it. I don't know why we go into this and then Joe Goes to School is like a minute and a half ending. And yeah, I'm fine with an album having just a little song at the end that wraps everything up. Animals by Pink Floyd did this. Francis the Mute by Mars Volta kind of did this as well. So it's fine. However, it ends up being redundant if you connect the dots. So yeah, cut off the last 2 songs of this album, and I think you end up with a much more consistent album, because I really do not understand the point of the saga of Frank Sinatra. Now, one thing I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to do like a 1-for-1 with some of the songs, because I think that there are some comparisons that you could make between Teens of Denial and Twin Fantasy. So as an example, the highlight songs in Twin Fantasy for me are Beach Life and Death, Bodies, and definitely Famous Prophets. On this album, I think Vincent is a much higher high than Bodies. Sorry, not Bodies. I meant to say Beach Life. Destroyed by Hippie Powers, same thing, but for Bodies. And then Ballad, same thing, but for Famous Prophets. So this is where like Teens of Denial ends up edging out Twin Fantasy in my eyes. Now, one last thing that I'll say, because I think that this will sum up why I'm saying all this. I probably should have started with this when explaining this, but yeah, I think Teens of Denial is actually a pretty mature album, a much more mature album than Twin Fantasy is. And that is what I think also gives it its strength. To my understanding, Twin Fantasy, the original inception of it, was from 2011 and was about like teen romance. Whereas Teens of Denial, to me, displays growing up, maturing, and dealing with some pretty heavy shit as well. And while Twin Fantasy was then remade with some changes made because, well, we're talking about a change of like 7 years. Yeah, there were some changes made that also made the album just feel more like it just felt better with that particular version. But I think this ends up highlighting really the growth of Car Seat Headrest from the original Twin Fantasy to the second one. And a lot of that, I think, is then also seen more so in Teens of Denial because of it being original material. Get what I'm saying? Where with Twin Fantasy, you're working off of material that was from a teenager, whereas Teens of Denial, you're now working off of material made by an adult. Now, does that take away from Twin Fantasy? No. I think Twin Fantasy stands on its own and is a good album. But I think that does give a lot to Teens of Denial, because the moments I latched onto in Teens of Denial were moments like in Vincent, where he was referencing the like portrait of Van Gogh, and then looking into that and realizing the significance of that particular portrait, and as well the name of the song, or the whole journey of the Ballad of the Costa Concordia, or the production of Destroyed by Hippie Powers and Cosmic Hero. And I think that that is also another thing to recognize, that while also there were some changes made to the composition of a couple of songs on Twin Fantasy, the fact that this album was all original stuff anyway, I think better showcases the growth of a composer in ways that may not be entirely apparent in just remaking the album you made 7 years ago. I will say this does make me want to revisit Twin Fantasy with a more critical ear and maybe even do a video on it. However, no guarantees, because this video took way too fucking long. And I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty sure that most of you watching this channel probably are looking at this video in the sub box before you clicked on this and were like, what the fuck? When did I subscribe to a music channel? Oh, it's this guy. So, here's this week's video. Next week, I don't know. I don't know what next week's video is, because I was supposed to have a backlog and I don't have one, so that's fun. Subscribe to the channels. I'm out.